today. I'm Darrell Fussell, the engineer here at Mallett Building, and I want to do something a little different today. Just talk to you some about site specifics, and this is something that a lot of you know about, but we're just going to talk about it just a little bit. Two things: the flood elevation of your property and the design wind load for your property. And I'm kind of amazed at the things that are available to everybody now, that things that weren't available just a few years ago. Not too long ago, if you wanted to know the flood elevation of a particular property, you would have to go to a surveyor and pay him to look at a survey map and give you that information so that you would know the height above sea level that you would have to build your house or structure. But now it's not really like that. You can go to search engine and type in LSU flood maps and then click on that, and that'll bring you to a map that looks like this, and you can type in either your address or you can just select a parish and you can get the information that you need. And so I just did a screenshot of just a spot over in Port Allen. There's the Mississippi River, and so this tells you that this point right here in that subdivision is in flood zone X, protected by a levee, and the elevation, the ground elevation, is 15.4 feet. And you can see over here where this lateral, which is a man-made canal, or if you want, just a good old-fashioned ditch, the flood elevation around that lateral is 13, 12, 14, 15, 16. So there you see that property is above the base flood elevation for that area right there. And then if you blow it up, here's the ditch. It says lateral 1C, and then over here is the subdivision. So this piece of property wouldn't be in a flood zone. And you know, one thing that you may not realize this, or you may, there's two types of flood risk. One flood risk is from a tidal surge, like if you live south of Lake Charles a good bit, then you're in a flood zone because of tidal surge. And they base that off of these epic storms that we had, especially Hurricane Rita, where the tidal surge was just tremendous. And the same thing over on the east side of Louisiana from Hurricane Katrina, where there was a tremendous tidal surge all the way along the Gulf Coast. And then the other part that causes flooding for most of the United States, obviously, is your location your proximity to a creek. And if you're near a creek or a man-made creek, call it a lateral, call it a ditch, whatever you want to call it, canal, then that's where the flooding comes from. So that's one issue that you have to consider. And when you're building a storage structure, as we've talked about before, your home can be in a flood zone, but your storage structure doesn't have to be built to base flood elevation, or, as is required by a lot of parishes, base flood elevation plus 1 foot. But your storage structure doesn't have to be there. You can also build your storage structure with flood vents in the wall, which allows the water to go up in a flood condition, it would fill up your storage structure and then it would flow out. And so, but it prevents you from having to build up your storage structure, and in many, many cases, your storage structure will never flood, even though the maps say it will, because the maps are worst case guess is what they are. So, and then I just want to throw this, another site-specific thing that the codes have in it, and this is from the International Residential Code. This is the snow load map for our area, and you will notice that when we're designing, we have a big 0 for most of South Louisiana. Now I know we had the big snowfall of last January, but as you know, that was a record snowfall, and maybe these maps will be updated in the coming years, but for right now, it's 0 unless you get up into the middle part of the state, and then you have a 5 pounds per square foot load. And this map has this weird dip down in it for some historical reason, but that may change over the next time that the new maps come out. But you would expect us to have a 0 snow load, and we do. I just thought I'd throw that one in. And then this map, this is the wind load map from the International Residential Code. And these, I know it's kind of blurry, but it's a very small map, and I blew it up so that, tried to blow it up so that you could see it. So see, way out here is 170 miles per hour. And then the next one is 160, where we're getting, along the main coast and the coast of Mississippi, the coast of Louisiana, down the coast of Texas is mainly is 160, and then 150. See, this 150 line runs all the way through here, and then the 140 line runs all the way up through here. Now, that line is significant from an insurance standpoint, and some of the design considerations that you'd have for a structure, because anything that's over 140, you see this tells us that if the wind load equals or exceeds 140 miles an hour, then you have special provisions in the code, and so that's and your insurance rates are governed by that. If you're below 140 or above 140, and then so how do you find out what your wind load is? Well, you can type in ATC hazards wind speed, ATC hazard wind speed, and click on that, and especially now this ASC hazard tool, if you click on that, then you type in your address, and it will give you what the design wind speed for that area is. Now, I typed in our address here in Iowa, Louisiana, and so you'll notice for risk category 2, the wind speed, and then for risk category 1, the wind speed is 120. And so that risk category is simply whether you're building a residence or a business, and that would be risk category 2. If you're building a storage structure, it's risk category 1. And the permit departments, they have rules that vary from permit department to permit department, but one of the things is if you have a bathroom in your storage structure, they may say, well, it's not wind category design category 1, it's design category 2. Because you have that bathroom in there, that means that you could have an office in there, and that changes it from a storage structure, and it increases the wind load there as you see it by 10 miles per hour. And you say, well, what difference does that make? Well, the difference that it makes is the higher the wind speed, then the higher the pounds per square foot wind load. The higher the pounds per square foot wind load, then the beefier your structure has to be designed to resist that wind load. And so this stuff sounds like a lot of numbers and a lot of information, but that's where the rubber meets the road. The higher the wind load, then the beefier your structure, and of course, the beefier it is, the more it costs. Now, at Mallett Buildings, we build a beefy structure, and we give you that beef at a great price. And for example, as Mr. Mallett and Trent have just told you, we use 2x8 for the cords of our trusses rather than 2x6, which that beef gives you a stronger structure and can handle straight line winds much better, and just oddities in the winds that occur in the midst of these storm events that we have, because there's just all kinds of things going on with the wind load, and the beef is always good, the extra girth that you get there. So that's a little bit about site specifics and things that you can learn about just by going to these, just going to the internet and go to these websites, and you can determine what the flood elevation is. You can determine what the wind speed, design wind speed is, and it's always good to know. No one's always better than not knowing. So y'all have a good day, and tomorrow the regular guys will be back with their regular stuff. See you later.